It was a super-ish Super Bowl, depending on who you were rooting for. Welcome to the Brewmance on the radio. I'm Mike Russell. He's Rob Hunter. Each and every week, we gather around a drink of the week. And I keep saying drink of the week and not beer of the week because Rob's holding out on me this month. I was holding out last month. He's holding out this month. So, Rob, what you drinking over there, pal?
I'm drinking Seed Lip. Now, you don't know what that is. It's non-alcoholic gin. That's a thing. So I thought I would try it as I'm trying to get my health in order.
Okay.
So we're doing this. So we're going to pour this we're going to make myself a non-alcoholic gin and tonic.
Congratulations on that. I am sticking with beer.
Nice.
Being as this is the beer program. One of us at least has to stick to beer, like Rob did last month when I was doing spirits. So I'm going light beers this month. Huh? All right. Maybe watch the waistline a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's right. Huss, Arizona Light Lager. Where is it there? Get the camera. Arizona Light Lager. It's only 110 calories. Yeah.
Nice.
So once again, watching the waistline.
I like it.
Figure and whatnot.
Now, you mentioned that you might be doing light beers all month. So are you going to stick to light beers throughout the month or just here on the program? So are you going to have some IPAs on the weekends or maybe a stout here or there?
It depends. A lot like the Super Bowl showed me that I am sticking to light beers. I'm only buying light beers. If somebody brings something that is not a light beer, I'm going to have that. I got the in-laws in town this weekend, so I know the father-in-law wants to try some of the local stuff. So, if I have one or two, it's not going to really make me cry in my Cheerios. I'm not going to feel like a failure. I'm just going to go back to drinking the light beers. And I usually don't drink beer on the weekdays anyway. So, it's just kind of a weekend kind of projects and, putting things, going out on hunts and things like that, like I'll be doing tomorrow morning. So, light beer will be fantastic.
I love it. So that'll be good. So we just watched the Super Bowl. I went over to your house. You invited me over, and that was fantastic. We had a fantastic time. Even though I was not drinking, I had some of this Seed Lip because I'm sticking to this no alcohol challenge for a little bit longer. But what I love about the Super Bowl, what we really love about just drinking in general is even the Budweiser commercial said it. The Anheuser-Busch commercial said it. It's not always about the drink. It's about the camaraderie, especially now, because camaraderie is harder and harder to find. There's a lot more social pressure to not be social. So it was awesome to be over at the Russell household, to see the kids, to see your wife, to see your sister, and just hang out and have a good time and pretend that life was normal for a few minutes.
Well, yeah, we had I think I celebrated that a little too much as I needed to go to my hangover cure that I learned last month when I discovered Jameson cold brew and a little bit of that in the coffee on Monday morning. I was about to call out of work. I was feeling a little I was feeling a little rough. But I mean, it's the most called out day of the year nationwide. It is the most called out day of the year. And now I see why. I've never really had that problem before, but apparently I started drinking beers when I put the ribs on, and that was still in the AM. So that 4:30 game time was way not AM. Mm-hmm.
No, it definitely wasn't. But speaking of those ribs they blew my mind how good they were. They were so good. And I'm not just saying this because you're my man, one of my best friends. They were, oh my goodness, those may be the best ribs I've ever had in my life. So walk me through that process, because for those of you who don't know, Mike Russell is a bad A on the grill in particular. He is a chef of chefs. Like, he really brings it. When you go over to Mike's house and you eat Mike's food, you know you're in for a treat. You're better off going to Mike's house than a restaurant. Now, I'm not trying to invite everybody out there over to Mike's house, but I'm just saying it's definitely a treat. So what was the process like? Why did you go with ribs? And what was the grilling process like? Teach me a thing or two about grilling some ribs.
Well, I think I just thought it'd be a fun, good football food, that and the chili dogs and the homemade chili as well. And I thought they would all go together, and it was an all-day cook. So that, for me, that's my treat. So eating is great, but the whole preparation all day is a big thing for me. So Super Bowl Sunday, and it's an all-day cook. And I got the ribs on, I think, at 7:30 in the morning. And we pulled them off about, I would say, 4 o'clock. Yeah. So I think right before the game started, we pulled them off. And it's just low and slow. It's just 185, and let them do their thing. The only seasoning I put on there was Slavo. So I did the Rob Hunter Slavo salt seasoning with a little bit of spicy, a little bit of OG on the rub, some olive oil, obviously, to keep it all together. And then about 2 hours before I pulled them off, I just did a very light brush of barbecue sauce, and that's it. Just let the smoke and the heat do its work all day.
It was a beautiful thing. It was very lovely. So New York Rob came with us, our buddy, and he took some ribs home. He was very pleased because I'd actually talked to him earlier this week. He had them Monday night for dinner, and he was like, "Oh yeah!" Put him in his air fryer. He was in heaven. So it was a beautiful thing. Awesome. Now you also made chili.
Yes.
Was it Texas chili? Because there's no beans in it.
No beans in Texas.
I took that home after oh man, that's good.
That had 2 cans of, what did I use? Barrio Red. Yeah, I used their red ale in it as well. So of course that was beer chili. I wasn't going to not cook with beer because you got to cook with beer. That to me,
got to cook with beer.
That's I cook. You cook with beer.
Whether it was so apparent. Sorry.
No, it was hot dogs, chili, stews, whatever it is. Just beer's got to be a thing. And I took a little bit of that red and put it in the rib spritz as well. So,
which not drinking beer really. I mean, I had non-alcoholic beers last month, but that beer flavor was so apparent to me because I've almost been depriving myself of the beer flavor. So that was a nice enhancement to it as well.
Well, I think that because I haven't eaten sweets in such a long time, in several years. So I can taste maybe a pizza sauce or a barbecue sauce or something. I can taste what has sugar in it. I can taste what has sugar, which breads have sugar in it. You can really hone into that. So yeah, I could totally see how you could pull that beer out of there after not letting your palate have that for 30 days.
Now going on almost 40 now. It's crazy. Woo! Speaking of Super Bowl, can we just give a shout out to Tom Brady? 7 Super Bowls. And I know people are trying to cancel him out and all these other things because he didn't wear a mask from the bus to the stadium, all of 7 feet, and he had a MAGA hat in his locker room in 2015. Shut up. This is about greatness. We saw a man win his 7th Super Bowl. That is more than any franchise has won. The Patriots and the Steelers have 6. Tom Brady has 7. Can we just celebrate greatness? The dude's 43 years old. Come on now.
I'll say more than that. And I fought this the whole time because I hate Tom Brady. But I have to say that he is the greatest of all time, period, hands down. There's no more argument. And here's the reason. It's not because of the 7 rings. It's because of the 7th ring. You see, Michael Jordan tried to leave the Bulls and establish his greatness, and he did so with the Wizards, and he was terrible. And he tried Major League Baseball as well. Terrible. And then Favre tried to do something similar when he went to the Vikings. Couldn't pull it off at all. So Tom Brady did what other quarterbacks couldn't do in going to a lesser team and trying to prove their worth. Look, I am the greatest of all time. I'm sure, Gronk came back, but there's only so much a tight end can do for you for a whole season and a Super Bowl. So he just established himself as the greatest quarterback to ever throw a football, period.
100% agree, but I already agreed with that about 3 championships in. So I'm 19 years ago, Tom Brady's the greatest. But it's just fun to watch that part. Now, this ties into beer because there's a brewery in Pawtucket, Rhode Island called Smug Brewing, which I already like based on the fact that they call them Smug Brewing. And you'll see why. They put out a beer called Traitorade. And this is a beer for Tom Brady and for Rob Gronkowski, the former New England Patriots that made their way down to Tampa Bay. And, of course, on the front, it has the picture of the Buccaneer logo. But the beer is a sour, so it looks like a Gatorade. So that's pretty funny that they were actually able to do that, especially given that they're Smug Brewing.
That's a big middle finger to Tom Brady right there. I'm telling you that. I mean, making it a sour too, and just making it gross, and it's just not a good beer. And I love it. I think that's all in to prove your point, and it's very Bostonian to do that kind of thing, right, Rob?
Absolutely. Sour taste in our mouths that Tom Brady's playing for another team, winning another Super Bowl. No question about that.
I'm just mad that Coach Arians has that ring now. I'm really upset. As a Cardinals fan, he completely punked our organization and didn't man up and just say he didn't like the Bidwells. He used I'm sick and I need to spend time with my family. Oh, look, somebody who's not the Bidwells. I'll go coach for your team. Pound sand, coach.
Yeah, he's the oldest Super Bowl head-winning coach or something to that nature. Here's another interesting thing. The ratings. Can we get off the ratings thing? Because, less than 100 million people. That's nonsense because more people than ever streamed the Super Bowl. More people actually watched the Super Bowl this year than last year. It just didn't do it in the traditional sense because technology.
Yeah, we have here on radio. Radio ratings aren't the same as they used to be. They aren't the same. So it used to be a thing that we had. It used to be a thing that we had people do diaries, and now they wear little pagers, and it just changed the whole rating system. And then streaming came along, changed it again. So stop this whole
Exactly.
less people, forget about it.
Stop trying to make me alarmist about everything. In a moment, speaking of alarmism, what about all that PPE you need to recycle? Well, some breweries think they have a solution. We'll tell you about it next on the Brewmance on the radio here on 550 KFYI. PPE is here to save the day, but it might kill the planet. What? That's what we're talking about here on the Brewmance on the radio. How you doing? Hope you're doing fantastic. My name is Rob Hunter, joined with Mike Russell. Together, we get together, have conversations over a drink, normally a beer. One of us is drinking beer this week. Mike Russell, what are you drinking?
I'm going with light beers this month because it's the shortest month. So I'm going to go with light beers on the shortest month I could possibly think of. This is Huss Arizona Light Lager, which I am a fan of. We will rate this for you at the end of the show. And this is a good beer on several levels, and I will tell you why at the end of the program.
So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming up as we get closer to 7 o'clock here on 550 KFYI. I am going non-alcoholic gin. This is a brand called Seed Lip. They make a gin. It's about $30 for this bottle, but I figured I'd try it out, trying to get my health in order before I go back into the booze world. So this is interesting. So I'll explain what I think of this coming up here at the end of the show as well.
Is it Seed Lip? Like your lips?
Yep.
Seed Lip. Okay.
Yep.
Because that just makes me think of my days playing baseball and sunflower seeds. Like I had seed lip, it dried out because of all the salt.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, yeah, that's the first thing I thought of, but I hope it's better than seed lip.
I will give you the preview. It is. It's very refreshing. We'll get more into it because I made myself a non-alcoholic gin and tonic. So occasionally I like the gin and tonic when you kind of go for the refreshing end, especially here living in the valley in the sun in the summertime when it's 108 degrees out. A nice gin and tonic will do you well. But I love this PPE topic because I saw a stat, and again, I don't know how to confirm this or not, but there are all these masks. They're like the throwaway masks that you're supposed to wear one time. I've seen them on the ground all over the place, parking lots, and I'm like, ugh. And I saw a stat that says that will not decompose for 400 years or something like that. So you think about all the masks that have been bought, all the masks that have been thrown away that are going to end up in landfills.
Okay, people. Okay, when we say follow the science, this is where science has failed us. You look at remember back in the old days, the Obama era, where we had the twisty bulbs. Twisty bulbs were going to save everything.
Oh yeah.
Bulbs. And then when everybody bought them and paid way too much money for them, we realized, you need to dispose of these in a certain way. They're bad for the environment. And then now everybody wants to have Teslas and electric cars. Now we're finding out that those batteries are worse for the environment than my F-150. So get it together. Science, take a break from everything you think you know that you keep messing up on and really focus on. Let's hone in on what is actually going to be good for the planet and what isn't going to be good for the planet. Because I didn't know you could recycle PPE or that you had to recycle PPE. That's mind-blowing to me.
Oh, it absolutely is. And even if you think about the cloth or the clothes that we wear, if you just buried this in the ground, how long do you think that this shirt that I'm wearing would take for the earth to decompose? And then whatever chemicals in this are going to get into the soil, and you have all of those other aspects that you have to think about. But we didn't in this.
I think cotton would stick with. I think cotton would decompose pretty quickly.
Well, maybe it does, and maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't know the answer to that question. But nonetheless, everything that we do is going to have some type of effect on the planet. So this, these cloth masks or these filtered masks, these N95 masks, which we saw the study this week from the CDC that says double masks may help slow down the spread. Not will, may. And they did the study on mannequins. And this is the point about science. And what Mike is bringing up is that's not really science. That's guesswork. And they prop it off as science. So we've, for the last 11 months, almost year now, have bought all this PPE. We've sold it in hospitals, and you have to dispose of it somehow. So I'll give Four Peaks credit. So Anheuser-Busch, who owns Four Peaks, has two places, two of their breweries, which you can go and you can recycle your PPE. and you get a gift card so you can get beer. So I love this. So Four Peaks is one of them, and Elysian Brewing up in Seattle is the other one that they're doing this at. But I love that it's right here in the Valley, and I love that Four Peaks is taking part in it because they're recognizing that, oh, okay, great. We want to prevent COVID and we want to do all this science stuff, but there are consequences to it as well.
Right. And the thing that frustrates me about that, and props to AB, props to Four Peaks and Elysian for doing this. But what it does is bring awareness to something we weren't taught. So back in the day, we were sent these different color trash cans to our house. Everybody got these different color ones, and those were supposed to, all the recycles supposed to go in there. Never did it say exactly what can or cannot go in there. We just assumed in our mind what recycle was. So I would unwrap something that has a plastic bag on it. I'm like, plastic, recyclable, and throw it into the can. Apparently you can't do that. I did not know that. Apparently plastic bags, the like, anything with a food particle in it, had no idea. We were never taught. So it's been an abysmal failure, because I know people in the not the recycle industry, the basically the garbage industry, that said the entire system is a failure. About 17 to 20% of stuff actually gets recycled. And that's why cities are ditching the whole program.
Yeah.
But now we're learning about this PPE. We have a shot at doing it right, because we're relatively new into this. And if people are going to be wearing masks, how are they disposing of them, and realizing that you don't just throw it in the trash can, because it's no bueno for the environment.
Yeah, or just leave it in the parking lot, which, that often happens, whether it's by accident, whether it's whatever. Right. But that there are consequences to all of these things that we do. And that's why I don't like it when people lecture us about save the planet. And then on the one hand, they push all of this other stuff. I'm like, you have, if you're going to save the planet, that's fine. Let's have that conversation, because I want Mike's kids and grandkids and future generations to be able to enjoy this planet and be able to go outside and breathe the air just like everybody else does. But at the same time, if we don't have a consistent message, because what Mike said is true, electric cars over the life of the car, from mining to the end of the battery life, are actually worse for the environment, worse for the planet, carbon emissions included, than regular modern cars. If you bought a car in the last 5 years, it is actually better for the planet. Not saying it's great for the planet. I'm not smart enough to know all of that, but I'm not saying that electric cars are the answer. So we're going to make this move over the next however many years. Biden's plan is to have all the federal cars and federal government be electric cars. What are we going to do in 30 years when the planet's no better than it is because we bought all electric cars and we're like, oops?
Yeah, well, I know every single time, and I'm with you, Rob. I don't know really all about the environmental impacts of my truck, but I do know when I turn it on, I do have that quick thought, like, this is not good for the environment, because I think I'm like, well, that can't be good, but it passed emissions, so I said, how bad can it be?
Exactly. We have the standards. But meanwhile, too, and you talk about China, and China is just going in the opposite direction, the opposite of what most countries are doing. And most countries are at least trying to reduce carbon emissions. China's like, nope, we're ramping them up. So that's the big challenge for the planet. So the point in telling you all of this is that we're mindful of the planet. Mike loves the outdoors. He's the outdoor guy. So to deny that is just ridiculous. So we're being fed all of these untruths, half-truths, feel-good stories, but when you look at the actual science, they're not true. So the point is, it's like with COVID. You got to dig in a little bit, and you got to do your own research and come up with your own conclusions. But that being said, I'm so happy that Four Peaks and AB InBev is deciding to at least call attention to, rather than throwing them in the trash, come to the brewery, have a beer, drop it in the recycle bin, and we will give you money towards the next beer. I love that.
As a matter of fact, just go, something you see them in the parking lot, clean it up.
Yeah.
Then take them to Four Peaks. Get free beer. Everybody wins. Everybody wins. And see, It's all about incentive to me. It really is. The fact that I have to pay for a recycled trash can at my house and I'm doing all the work ticks me off. But if you tell me I'm going to pay 1% less in taxes this year, if I recycle the whole year, I'm in. I'm going to recycle like a mad dog. It's all about incentive to me. And if I can get free beer by turning in masks, I will start a collection here at iHeart. I will say, hey, listen, everybody, bring me your masks. Just drop them off in front of our studio and in a bag, and I'll take them over to Four Peaks. I'll be drinking kegs for life.
That's a good idea. That is, if we still allowed people to come to the iHeart building and actually hang out, we could maybe put one of those recycle bins out front. Like, put them all in here. Yeah. And then we'll run them over to Four Peaks because it's not that far from the office. And then we're good to go. Collection program. There'll be enough. We'll throw a keg party, a socially distanced keg party at some point.
and we're actually going to be right by Four Peaks at Riverbound Riverbound Sports doing our one wheel video, so we can do it all at the same time because it's right around the corner. Yeah, we're going to get on a one wheel. If you haven't seen one, look it up. A one wheel. It is literally one tire with foot rests on both sides, and it just goes when you want it to go.
Not a unicycle. It's better. Yes.
I hope it's easier.
Yeah, seriously. I'm all about that. In a moment,
my grape can take a smash to the sidewalk.
Nope. Double helmets for you. Forget double mask. Mike needs a double helmet. In a moment, what makes a beer domestic? We'll discuss it on the Brewmance on the radio here on 550 KFYI.
$3 domestics, $8 pints. Wait a second. Those craft pints aren't they made here? Isn't that domestic? Welcome to Brewmance on the Radio, Arizona's only craft beer radio show each and every week with my man Rob Hunter right there. I'm Mike Russell. We gather around a drink of the week, usually a beer of the week, but we're doing different challenges each month this year. I am starting with the light beer challenge for February because it's the shortest. And watching my waistline, Huss's Arizona Light Lager, 110 calories. I'll review that for you at the end of the show. And Rob, what are you weighing in with, bud?
Non-alcoholic gin. I did not know there was such a thing, but our buddy Justin was like, hey, they have non-alcoholic gin. I've tried it. It's called Seedlip. Go get some and try it. So here I am trying it. I got myself a gin and tonic. Mike, don't worry. I poured a tall glass for myself.
My man. We have four Brewmance episodes in February. So is there 4 non-alcoholic spirits that you can use or try?
Well, there's a non-alcoholic bourbon, which I'm going to try next. But what I might do is maybe make a different, because I only saw the gin and I only saw the bourbon at the Total Wine.
Okay.
So I might have to just make a different cocktail. So gin and tonic, I'm going to have to do like a slow gin fizz or something next week and then do the bourbon at the last 2 weeks of the month. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. See what else I can find.
All right. Let's get into this debate because this is an important debate. This is an important debate to have, and I really want to get into this because it's something we haven't talked about on the Brewmance, and it's something that's bothered me for a very long time. So I'm surprised that we haven't had this conversation. And it was spurred by an article about Yuengling. Yuengling is Pennsylvania. Is it Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Right. It's America's oldest brewery, and Yuengling is now expanding. And one of their breweries is now in Texas. So the question is Yuengling a local beer in Texas? Is it a local beer now that is brewed in Texas? And my first thought was, no, it's still a East Side beer. But I'm thinking, no, it's brewed there. That's now it's a homegrown Texas beer, for the love of grief. It's in Texas now. So, yes, it is now a local beer, at least in my opinion. Rob?
I agree. And that's why one of the things restaurants and bars have to get up to date is the term domestic, because what you really mean is cheap.
Yeah.
So that's what the term has become, because domestic beers are the ones that are made in your neighborhood, in your backyard, when you really think about it. So we have 70 some odd breweries in the valley, 100 plus in the state of Arizona. Those are as domestic as it gets. Those are as local as it gets. They've become the premium category, which is fine because they take a little bit more to make because you're not producing as much. So your cost to scale is a little bit higher. I understand all of that. I just don't like the term because we actually had this debate on our Facebook page because we went to the Open, the FBR Open. Is that what it's still called? When people were still allowed in, the Waste Management Open. That's what it is.
Yeah,
the big golf event that we have here in the Valley. Yes. It's like the Super Bowl weekend. So this year they only had like 7 people there, except in the skyboxes. Hole 16, there's plenty of people maskless. Oh my goodness. Nonetheless, money. Mike and I went in search of craft beer, of which they had virtually none. Blue Moon was their offering, so we decided to drink Coors. And we were drinking the Coors on the golf course, and we had put up a post about drinking domestics at the course because it's the only thing possible. So one of my buddies who I went to high school with, works at a brewery up in Massachusetts. He says, no. Domestics are your local beers, your beers that are made in your backyard. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. So that opened up my mind to that even possibility. So I agree.
Yeah. So, but we just need to change the verbiage. So domestic is this, I would say it's all American made beers, for the love of grief. If it's made in America, it's domestic. If it's local, that's okay. That's a different version. If it's a local craft, I think switch it to that. So domestics, anything outside of local craft is domestic. So if I'm getting a Stone, it's domestic because made in the United States, but it's not here in Arizona. If I'm getting a Shiner or Elysian or something like that, still domestic, but not local craft. So I think the bar and restaurant industry should change that to domestic. It's made here. That's one price, and then it's local craft is a different. If they're going to separate the prices,
I think you could just do it really simply because it goes back to the old days before the craft breweries were big and they were sold in bars and breweries or bars and restaurants. It's simple. You have local, then you have a national, and then you have various prices. So you have your Budweiser would be $3, your Stone would be $7. So just put them as national brands, local brands, national brands, and then international because it was always import. So it was always domestic versus import because most beers sold in restaurants and bars, at least in the 80s, were big brands, were Anheuser-Busch, were Heineken. So Heineken was the import. So that's how I would separate it. I would break it up into 3 categories. I'd have local, I'd have national, and then I would have import.
Okay, but or just do this. Here, a Budweiser is $3. This beer is $5, and a Helton Northeast IPA is $7. Just put the dang price of the beer. Stop calling them or labeling them in groups.
That'd be fine.
Unless you want to do macro and micro and get into that kind of crap. And no, I don't want to be dealing with that. I'll never forget one of my first beer tour experiences, and that was Red Hook up in Washington. And I'll never forget the woman that was running the tour had the weirdest voice, and her cadence was so odd. But I'll never forget what she was saying. We are too small to be considered a macro brewery and too large to be considered a micro brewery. We are on the cusp. For some reason, I remember that. Now they're super macro, but I remember that. And
well, but that's just basically rules and laws that governments make and what becomes a micro versus a macro. And then there's in-betweens and craft breweries. So that was one of the things here in the state of Arizona. So, for example, if you go to State 48 Brewing, which has 5 or 6 different locations, they operate under the guise of the law. So when they changed the Arizona law a few years ago, it allowed you to have, I think, up to 6 craft breweries in the state to still be considered craft brewing. And then you could brew a certain amount of gallons per year. They doubled that capacity. So that allows for more to operate in that space because it was such a small space where you're a craft brewery up to this amount, but there was nothing in between because otherwise you had to you had to distribute your beer, and that's a whole nother nightmare for some breweries that just don't want to do it.
Yeah. And that's what people have to understand. I think this is actually a good small business lesson because just because your Aunt Sally makes amazing pies doesn't mean Aunt Sally needs to start her own business making pies. So if you're making some great beer in your garage, you're doing fantastic, you get your buddies, maybe a little bit of capital, maybe a little investment and behind it, you have to understand you're going into a business. And one of the pieces of that business is you're going to grow. And if you are good and you do grow, you are going to have to hire sales reps. That's the cusp. So then you hire sales rep people to get out and actually push your beer around. Then once you start hitting a certain volume of production, then you have to, by law, jump in bed with one of the distributors. And that's a whole different type of thing. So there is a lot of business in the business of beer, so much more than just beer.
And that's why you need to have like a legal team too. And that's the challenge to go into a beer type business because there's so many layers and convoluted parts of it that it's not just easy. It's not just like, okay, I'm just going to sell beer out of my garage or I'm just going to open a spot and sell beer. Nope. Because these are laws that go back to the prohibition days from the federal level that haven't changed, that require distribution. And that's why you have some of the big distributors and how much power they have. Now, they can do wonders for brands, but they can also be difficult because they are sometimes lifetime relationships that you have to create.
Yeah, essentially they own your beer once it leaves your brewery. So yeah, it's definitely something to look into. We think we're going to start a brewery. Start doing your homework quickly, and by homework I mean stop by and ask Brian Helton. Stop by and ask John at Oso. Stop by and ask some of the main brewers out here and the owners of these breweries, and ask them about that. They will sit down and have a beer with you. They are a wonderful lot. They will tell you the things that you don't know, because always in small business, you don't know what you don't know.
Yep. And there is a lot more government involved than you think. And by that, I just mean there are laws and there are regulations. And once you peel back the layers, you're like, oh my goodness, because there are regulations and laws on just about everything. And, then, for example, some of the internet things like Google, there aren't. And the government has to try to figure out what to do, because there's always like, now they're playing catch up and then they'll overdo it. And, it's just the way things work in America. Land of the free, home, baby.
Come on.
It's the brave people that risk the regulations that are really the ones that we need to talk about as the unsung heroes of America.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is just government and it's laws. But anyway, but it is domestic beers are beers that my outdoor showing there. The beers that are made here in the United States, period. Local beers are just that.
In a moment, this is a local beer, Bernie beer in Vermont for Valentine's Day.
Oh,
talking about it next on the Brewmance on the Radio 550 KFYI.
With the burn.
A Bernie Sanders beer has arrived just in time for you for Valentine's Day. The problem is, it's in Vermont. Welcome to the Brewmance on the Radio. My name is Rob Hunter, joined by Mike Russell. We gather around a drink of the week and have interesting conversations here on the Brewmance on the Radio. Mike Russell, what are you drinking this week and this month?
Huss Arizona Light Lager, going with the light beers this month. So it's going to be interesting. I found at least 5 that I want to give a try, and I'm jumping out with the local one.
Dig it. I'm going non-alcoholic gin this month. Why? Health. Seed lip is what it's called. So I've made myself a gin and tonic in a tall glass. Even though it's late at night here, 6, almost 7 o'clock on 550 KFY, I figured I'm worth a non-alcoholic tall drink.
You're worth it. You're worth it.
So let's go to Bernie.
No.
Coming out. Now, this was inspired by Bernie on Inauguration Day when he showed up and he was wearing those mittens. And that's become the big sensation of the internet because everybody loved them some Bernie. So 4 Quarters Brewing in Winooski, Vermont is coming out with that picture of Bernie on the front to celebrate the Bernie Smitten Mittens. It's a maple s'more stout brewed with maple syrup, milk, sugar, cocoa powder, chocolate chips, graham cracker, and marshmallow.
That sounds marshmallow.
Yeah, it's like a shout out to the Sandlot. You take the mallow and you put it.
Yeah. Okay, all right, okay. I thought you were getting your freaky deaky Boston accent back. Look, this is silly. Why celebrate Bernie Sanders? It says nothing to do with political ideology. It's why. I don't know why anyone celebrates anyone who has spent their entire life running and campaigning and making money off the government dime. I don't understand. Okay, fine. But Bernie's a character. That's fine. Feel the burn. No.
That's it. He's a cartoon character. That's exactly what America thinks of him, because I would say this. I would not celebrate him because he has 0 accomplishments. Name an accomplishment that Bernie Sanders has in his life. No one can answer that question.
He's a meme.
He is a meme. That's an accomplishment, I suppose.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And it's I don't know if I want to even necessarily go down this road, but I have very cynical views of politicians. But I want to tie it into what we saw over the last year or so with the sort of tearing down of Civil War statues. I never understood why we put Civil War statues up, especially for the losing side. I'm like, why are we rewarding the losers? I never understood that. It never made any sense to me. I never bought. I'm like, okay, Robert E. Lee, fantastic, but he lost. So why would we put a statue up of the loser?
Well, obviously we're celebrating.
Celebrating losing. Yeah.
It's a time-honored tradition here in the Estados Unidos. So we just, okay, you lost. We'll give you a statue. It's like a consolation prize. Don't worry. I know you lost. I know it stings. I get it. We're going to get you a statue.
Now, I would counter that because I think that's true. Not that I countered it, but I would add to this too. a lot of people who would say, and again, I'm just trying to challenge this thought process. I'm not trying to be snarky about it, but it's just something I've noticed. A lot of people who say, all right, this is our history. I understand that argument. That's fine. But if we're concerned about giving a trophy to every kid now that plays a sport, that was the first trophy for everybody. Like Civil War, America wins, the North wins, we got rid of slavery. Cool. Let's give everybody a statue. Cool. Good fight, guys. Only 600,000 Americans died. Awesome. Let's give you a statue.
Feel better about it with a statue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Odd to me. But, that's just me. It's just my opinion. It's okay.
Why in the world, going back to the Bernie beer, why are they saying just in time for Valentine's Day? Because the last thing I think of when I think about romance, when I think about, extracurricular time, it is Bernie Sanders. As a matter of fact, Bernie Sanders would kill the entire mood, and I would have to take one of those pills.
I got nothing. I can't follow that up. I didn't want to know about that. I don't want to think about that. It's because it's Bernie's.
If you were thinking about that, Rob, if you were thinking about that, thinking about Bernie Sanders, when you get romantic with Lady Brewmance, you would need some assistance.
I wouldn't think about Bernie in those moments. It wouldn't even cross my mind.
That's what I'm asking. They said that this beer is just in time for Valentine's Day. So
because
they're lining the two up.
Well, it's Vermont. Vermont does weird things. Vermont elects Bernie Sanders. The other senator is Patrick Leahy. He's 80 in Vermont. Bernie's 79. So they just like electing old white guys in Vermont and like, all right, you guys just stay there forever. It's going to be fantastic. So it is Vermont. Very crunchy state. Very beautiful state. No question about it, but very crunchy.
So crunchy?
Oh, yeah. They're very, very hippie-ish. And Ben and Jerry's are from Vermont.
Crunchy. I've never heard that called crunchy.
Oh, yeah. Crunchy.
All right.
Like granola. You like your granola.
All right. So it's Valentine's Day weekend. So are you getting all romantical with Lady Brewmance? What are you doing?
What? We're not big Valentine's Day celebrators. We determined that long ago.
Why is that?
Because Lady Brewmance was like, I don't care about Valentine's Day. And I was like, I have the best woman ever. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. I think
Trust me, it's the case.
I think if you did it up one Valentine's Day, she'd be like, you're the bestest in the world.
Every now and again, I do.
All right.
Every few years or so. Just not this year.
I lucked out. My in-laws are coming into town. So are in town right now. So yeah, I'm good. I have a pass. Yeah, I got a card. That's it. And usually if I get cards, because I hate cards, I think cards are stupid.
Is there
if I get cards, if I have to, it is something completely inappropriate. And I mean, not not safe for work inappropriate. I mean inappropriate, like it has nothing to do with what's going on. Like for Valentine's Day, I'll get a quinceañera card. It's something completely out of, like, I'm sorry for your loss kind of card. I don't care. Something that's just dumb and cheesy, I'm all about.
Absolutely.
But for the kiddos though, like my girl, my intern Beans, my Valentine.
Absolutely. That's the way it should be.
Do it up for little Beans.
Yeah. I just, the whole idea of Valentine's Day, I mean, I know it was created to sell stuff. So it's basically like a capitalist holiday. Like, hey, buy a card, buy overpriced flowers, because flower prices double for the week leading up to Valentine's Day. It's kind of obnoxious. So it's like, all right, I'm just going to wait till the 15th when the prices come down. Then I'll buy you flowers. But, I regularly buy Lady Brewmance flowers. So that's just one of the things I do. So, Valentine's Day, I'm just like, no, we try to do this as much as we can year round, not just on a day.
I did not know that about you. I did not know that you were a flower buying kind of guy.
I am.
I was so much that for so many years that I was told to stop buying flowers by my wife.
Oh.
She said, that's enough. Okay, fine. That's enough.
I get it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
We marry good women. That's the bottom line.
I mean, that crap, waste all that money.
I mean, come on, man.
Seriously, what you paid for these roses, you could have bought like 2 12-packs.
Seriously. That's good women right there. That's our advice. Our Brewmance Valentine's Day love advice for all the single Brewmancers out there in the world. Find yourself a good woman.
Yes.
Or a good man in that sense, too.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that's it. Let's review these drinks, shall we?
Yeah, I'll go first because I want you
Okay,
to end on the beer since I'm drinking this non-alcoholic gin. So the first time I had this non-alcoholic gin, it's called Seedlip. It's a distilled non-alcoholic spirit. So there's no alcohol in it whatsoever. It's not made with juniper berries like gin typically is. But I think I found the key because I had this at your house. It was gin and tonic, and it was not quite right. Now I poured this big tall glass. I filled up about a little more than halfway of the gin and put a little tonic on the top. It tastes like a gin and tonic. So I found the right equilibrium. This is refreshing. It's good. There's no buzz. So the point in trying these also is if you are not a drinker and you like gin or liked gin in the past, this is a really, really good alternative for you. So I'm really digging it. I don't know that it would be something I would drink a lot of unless I was going to go straight up non-alcoholic. But if I was drinking gin and tonics, I would also use this as a spacer. So I'd go gin and tonic, Seedlip and tonic, gin and tonic.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just keep going. All right.
I'm going to give it an 8. I'm going to give it an 8.
Aren't you supposed to put some like lime in it or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not a big lime guy, so I'm just going straight up.
I don't know. I didn't really get into the mixed drinks that much. I went with the Huss Arizona Light Lager, and if you're trying to watch this on the YouTube video and on Facebook, the studio next door just left and turned off all the lights, so it looks like I'm literally like hiding from someone in the dark in here. I love this beer for a couple of reasons. Hey, it's a straight up 8.5, easy. Love drinking this beer. It's well done. Huss did a fantastic job on it. It's local. It's got our beautiful state right on the label, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. One of the things that I think goes above that, 2 quick things. First, they make koozies, can koozies that are the can art. So no matter what you're drinking, Huss wants it to look like you're drinking their beer. I think that's a beautiful idea. Second, this is a great first step for non-craft drinkers. Give them this beer, let them try it and say that's local craft beer, and it might bring them, set that hook and bring them into the fold.
Which is the genius of why the Husses did that. It works very well. That is the best local light beer that I've ever had. So
period.
Kudos to that.
Yeah, well done with that. I'll give these light beers a try. We'll give it a shot and see what it does to my waistline.
Exactly right. So you get an update on that next week here on the Brewmance on the radio. Saturday nights, 6 to 7 p.m. on 550 KFY. You can find us online, brewmance.beer, Facebook, Instagram. Just type us in. You'll find us. Until next week.
Cheers, everybody.